So this is my first time actually talking to the camera. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm Jeff. This is my shop. And I've had a couple of people ask me to do a shop tour and talk about a couple of the things in my shop. So I'm going to have a Guinness, smoke my pipe, and talk about my shop and take you around. So I hope you enjoy it. So my shop is in my basement, and hopefully when my wife and I move, I will have a completely external shop, because a lot of the stuff that I do down here smells up the rest of the house. Like anytime I mess with chemicals or fiberglass or anything like that, as well as any painting. So I guess we should start with the paint booth, because that was one of the first questions I ever got. So this is just a 2x4 framed out paint booth with scrap wood that I had laying around, and then I had some sheet metal shelves that I didn't need anymore, so I made all of the walls and stuff with that, and then I've sealed up most of it with some of that aluminum tape that they use in the HVAC industry. Kind of fabricated our own little exhaust port up there. I've got some lights in here, and then I've just got some I don't know, it's not chicken wire, it's similar chicken wire usually found in the same area. It's just rectangular grid wire that I use to hang stuff on, and then I've got baling wire that I use to make the hooks. Got a Lazy Susan or two in here, and a bunch of scrap 2x4 and stuff like that. And then I've got a bunch of different things that I use to support the stuff that I hang or paint on top. There's respirators and all that junk. So made this shelving system that has most of my spray paints on it. Sorry, there's all kinds of stuff mixed in there with it, but I keep pretty much all my paints here, even crappy little craft paints and gun coating stuff and even model paints. And I've got a compressor, and I've run a line from my compressor over the door, and it'll go to this. Coming out here, there's a an actual, we call it filter on there, and then of course there is a inline filter back there, and then I just use like guns like that I shoot different paints with, if it's not a spray paint. Anyways, on the back side you've got a vent hose coming out. That's a 12-inch vent hose, and it's got an inline fan, and then I've got this hose that I just run out the door, and that's how I vent it. So that's the paint booth. Not a whole lot to it really, to be honest. I've got another friend that built a collapsible one in his workshop, which is also in his basement, and I kind of like that idea. It folds all flat up against the wall, but he's got a lot less space than I do to work with. My crappy little stick welder, but hey, it does the job. And then we've got my awesome Delta grinder, my Craftsman grinder and pedestal, And then my 3-wheel bandsaw set up for metal cutting, and it's got that slow speed converter on there. Very unique thing. Everything's dusty because I was vacuuming and sweeping earlier, so it kicks dust up everywhere. Sorry about that. Got my 2-wheel 12-inch bandsaw that I've also got set up for metal cutting. Got a worm gear on it. Got another Craftsman bandsaw. This is not a vintage piece. It's a 14-inch, and I use that for wood. Got the all-important television in the shop. Over here we've got the joiner that you guys saw me rebuild. Or maybe you didn't, but maybe you did. 6-inch. And then around the joiner is the air conditioning and heating exchange unit for the house. And then my sink. And then I've got a oven that I built for gunsmithing. So I can hang stuff in there and bake my coatings on. Got a piece of railroad rail that I use as an anvil. And then we've got my Wilton C1. This bench is primarily set up just for gunsmithing. Just about everything on it is used in gunsmithing. And I've got a cheap, I don't know what brand it is, Microlux rotary tool. Yeah. Which has a pedal down there. There's the all-important refrigerator that keeps bottled water and Guinness and everything. Kind of low, need to go shopping. But yeah, no, that's a vintage Craftsman tool light that I rebuilt. Yeah, pretty squared away. So moving on, we've got a couple of vices over here because I like vices. Charging station. Some blades. This was kind of my primary workbench for a bunch of years, but I got tired of just not being able to work all the way around something. And then of course there's my Reed 204R and 204.5R vise. That's like the baby of the 4C that you saw me rebuild. Down here I've got a bunch of tools that I don't use all the time, like a planer and router table, that kind of thing. Router, some old motors, bunch of plastic bins and stuff. That's kind of where I just store them. And then we've got my 150 15.5-inch Craftsman Emerson. That is an awesome drill press, and I've got that set up with the Vari-SLO on it. All of these sockets and wrenches and stuff are all vintage that I got from my uncle, my great uncle, who I'm named after. So I really don't use those, just keep them pretty badass. This is, see if you can make that out, industrial. They made shit to last back then, no doubt about it. And then this is all of my main tools that I use all the time. So I've got pretty nice setup. All of it's pretty much Craftsman. Nut drivers, pliers, channel locks, wrenches, ratchets, flathead screwdrivers, cross tips, more nut drivers, all kinds of shit. Hammers, my Craftsman, made in America, made in America, made in America power tool line before they shut that factory down in Texas. Tape, and then some cobalt stuff and some socket extensions, that kind of thing. More vices. Those are all for drill presses. And then these are like some cheap tools. Most of this stuff I got from Harbor Freight back in the day before I started buying good stuff. But they've lasted and I use them. So there's a DeWalt down there. There's my Craftsman radial saw, and then my DeWalt angle grinder. And this is all really just screws, nuts, and bolts and that kind of stuff. Ball bearings inside these plastic bins down here. Used ones and new ones. Scrap wood. Scrap piping and PVC, that kind of stuff. Target. Back before I started all this stuff, I was actually working on and making some nylon tactical gear, so I have a bunch of stuff that I used in that process. So that's all sewing stuff in that last end down there, and rags. And then all this is kind of just oils and solvents and that kind of stuff. Knickknacks, I mean, it's all kind of hodgepodge together at this point. Larger paints and Bondo and that kind of stuff down there. More tools and that kind of junk up here. More bins. Anyways, kind of a storage area. Got a bunch of clamps and stuff there, and then I've got a bin down there. It's got a bunch of C-clamps and stuff in it. So this is my 10-inch Craftsman table saw. So I'm trying not to ramble. So this is my Craftsman 100 series with MSA, and it's got my float lock vise on it, and it's got the table lift system on it. That's like my main do-all drill press, and I've got it set up for drilling metal right now. And then this is my Craftsman Emerson. This was actually my first real drill press. It's kind of what started all this stuff. But it's an awesome drill press. And then I've got my 6x42 belt disc sander. And I just pull that out when I need to use it. And I've got my 1-inch by 42 belt and disc sander. I really don't use the disc thing. I take the discs off most of the time. But yeah, love that sander. That thing right there is the bomb. And then I've got a 2-inch by whatever, I don't even know, belt disc. This is obviously not a vintage piece here. And then behind all that, I've got various attachments for drills and wire wheels and buffing wheels and sanding drums and that kind of stuff. And then everything for the angle grinder. Bunch of scrap wood back here. I have scrap wood everywhere. And then inside here, we've got all of our sanding stuff. So we've got all the sandpaper over here, and my labels have really need to be redone. I think most of them are falling off. And then a bunch of different sanders in there, and then discs over here. So, and then under there, more scrap wood. Like I said, it's everywhere. And that's a metal cutting saw that I bought a while back for a different project and hung on to it after that. So some more belts for sanders. And they're sitting behind my Craftsman 15.5-inch commercial, Craftsman Emerson, that has my 4-inch cross slide on there. And then a bunch of rulers and squares and whatnot, templates, that kind of stuff. And then of course we've got the wood lathe sitting back there, and I just pull it out if I need to use it. We got some scrap steel, well, scrap metal. There's aluminum and all kinds of junk in there. And I should have mentioned that I do have some longer rulers and stuff over here. And above all of this is all the electronic stuff really that I use. LEDs, and there are some Dremel tools and that kind of stuff. All the different wheels and stuff for the Dremel, soldering iron, that kind of thing, shrink tube, and then a bunch of paper towels, Kleenexes. Got a bunch of these, I don't know what you call these clips, but I've got a ton of them. Spring clips or something, but yeah. And then we have the metal lathe, and this is a Smithy metal lathe and mill combo. Pull the cover off of it. There you go. And whenever you're watching anything that I'm doing on the lathe, I have a camera mounted right here facing down. So, a bunch more scrap metal and whatnot. And then this has got all kinds of lathe stuff in here, setup tools and all that good junk. And it has a coolant system, but I never use it. And then continuing on, we've got several tools that I need to rebuild that are sitting here waiting to be done. Got another grinder here, and this one's just for sharpening woodworking lathe tools, really. That's what it's for. It's got its own little, all different attachments and everything to get the proper angles and all that good stuff. Then I've got a media blasting cabinet. It's just some cheap Northern Tool thing. And of course we can just plug the air compressor directly into it and power it. So, and then a bunch of junk sitting up under there. But that is the main shop. So this is my main build table. And I like to be able to walk around and work on stuff, especially something big like that vise. I can work on part of it here and then go to the other side and work on it over there. But this is just one 4x8, I think is the size. Yeah, I think it's all one sheet of plywood. Yep. And I definitely need to figure out something for these legs because it's not as sturdy down here. All the weight's down at this end with this vise. This is my Autocrat Colombian. And then I've got a magnifying glass because I'm old and I can't see worth a shit. And then kind of over here is my Fordham, which is basically just a Dremel that is on a rotary cable. And then we've got some lighting for when I'm doing video. Some quick access tools that I use a lot of, screwdrivers and that kind of stuff. Most of the time this area is going to be just the stuff that I'm working on. So if I'm working on something dealing with electronics or whatever, then I'll probably have that cleaner. And then if I'm going to tear down, then I'll have the WD-40 and the PB blaster, and of course Q-tips because you can never have enough of them. And then some of my early videos, I only had one camera and it was mounted on this tripod here looking this direction. Yeah, so I still mount one there and use it every once in a while. But the main camera that I use now, and the lighting is probably going to mess with this a little bit, but you can see I've got this, I think it's 3/4 inch, it might be 1 inch pipe that runs the whole length all the way down to there. And on it I've got this camera, which is just like the camera I'm holding in my hand, and mounted here. And both of these are Sony's. And they shoot in 4K, and they're just awesome cameras. I love them. So, turn that one on. Hey, look there. You can see AX53. I don't remember exactly. But anyways, and then all the video is saved to an SD card. Got another light there, and then another light there, and there. And then I've got a small bar over here and another light so that I can shoot straight down. And that's what I used when I was doing the top-down view of the Vari-SLO. But yeah, that's the workbench. And I've got power run to it on this side, and then I've got a plug strip running on the back side. And when we first moved into this house, this basement only had one outlet in it, and that outlet is that outlet right there. So I had to run all this electrical, and at the time I didn't know where I was going to put a lot of stuff. So of course I've got outlets on the walls, and I built this wall. It was just a framed basement at the time, so I framed out and built all of that. And then didn't really see a need to go ahead and put sheetrock on all of that, so I've just got tarps covering it so that those areas over there don't get as dusty and dirty as the workshop area. But I decided to run electrical along the ceiling and put outlets there like that. And so all of my lighting is just plugged into those outlets, so none of it's like hardwired. It's all plugged in, which allows me to move it if I need to, or replace it if I want, or add more, you know, because I've got lots of plugs in my ceiling. So, and originally I was going to do like a drop ceiling in here and stuff, but yeah, screw it. No need to really do it. And it's probably, I wouldn't have the amount of movement or space that I do, because that drop ceiling would have had to have come down to below all of this flex duct, and that would have meant like really tight quarters at that point. So what else? Off of my workshop, I've got my home office, and this is where I do all of the video editing and that kind of stuff. I've got a creator PC that I built, and yeah, that's kind of how I run things. I use DaVinci Resolve. I have a paid studio version that I love that program. But yeah, oh, that should have been turned on. It's my Saturn V that I made. Pretty badass. Yeah, so I was in the model building for quite a while. Very much the science fiction fan. And you know, in Atlanta we have a science fiction convention called Dragon Con that I used to go to. I started going in 1987 to the very first one. I've been going ever since, and then I stopped in 2019. But so there was a little bit of time there that I was into the whole costuming thing as well, as you can tell, and I'm sure you've seen the 501st references and stuff around my office. But yeah, so these are some more models. That's my 1/350 scale Enterprise that I've been working on since 2010 and have yet to finish it. My 3D printer, that's a Prusa Mark III. And then I have an Elegoo Mars resin printer under there. And then this is really my newest acquisition, if you will, as far as tools. The cover is a Creality cover, but it's not a Creality, it's a Ortur laser engraver. So whenever I cut the vinyl decals out for masking and stuff, I use this vinyl cutter here. There's Cameo. That thing is the bomb. But yeah, that's my little office. Got a full bathroom back there. I built this whole thing. I just never did the ceiling and didn't put the carpet down very well because it's bubbled up in a couple of places, but it's all dirty as all get out from the workshop anyway. So sewing machine, industrial sewing machine, my Singer. .211, and I can sew leather, nylon, all kinds of stuff with that. It's my great uncle from World War II. That's him there, and I'm named after. And then, hey, look, Stars and Stripes from 9/11, and a paper from Bosnia. That's where I was when 9/11 happened, on deployment there. And let's see what else is left. More storage. This is some of my costuming stuff. These are all backpacks for my Stormtrooper rifles, for the Stormtrooper and the Mandalorian. I have a vacuum former, and so I vacuum form armor and stuff like that. I really don't do the whole costuming thing anymore, but I was really into it for a while there. Tons of stuff in boxes. This is all camping gear and military gear over here. Got some dead mouse heads up there. If you're watching my channel, you probably don't even know who Dead Mouse is, but it was my very first 3D printer. It's junk now. I just haven't thrown it away. More camping, military gear, and more stuff in storage. So over here, that's my vacuum forming table. These are some old tools that I don't use anymore and I need to get rid of. This is the base for that radio arm saw that I was going to rebuild and never got around to it. And then that's all Christmas and all that kind of junk, you know, Christmas trees and lights and that kind of thing. And then that's how you get back to the rest of the house. All right. So, if you're planning on robbing me based on this video, just know that if I don't stop you with all the guns I have, my dog will. All right. So that's the shop tour. I hope you enjoyed it. 2 Guinness in now. I think I can get 2 more in before I need to go to bed. So I'm thinking about doing a little spin-off series on things collected. And some of it may be on tools, but really branching out to other things like maybe pipes, knives, watches. Not sure if there's any interest in that or not. And there's a million other YouTube channels out there that already fill that void. So if you guys are interested in hearing about that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments. If not, we will drive on with all the rebuilding of tools that I rebuild and whatnot. Not real big about opening up, sharing all of this, so yeah, we'll see how it looks in post. Anyways, again, hope you enjoyed it. Probably the next video is going to be that 150 drill press rebuild, so we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching, and as always, I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys next time.